Welcome back. Fox News host Dana Perino is facing major backlash after this week's Republican debate. We talked about it yesterday, but the real losers of the night were the moderators. They couldn't control the candidates, they asked terrible questions, but most importantly, they showed whose side they're really on, the establishment's. You don't need to take my word for it. Just watch this clip of Dana Perino fawning over twice-failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton just last week.
Of our organization was somebody that you are here to see, the amazing Secretary Hillary Clinton. Here she is.
Starting to make a lot more sense now, isn't it? Such a shame to see so-called conservatives become one with the deep state. CEO of Liberty Sentinel Media, Alex Newman, joins us now to weigh in. Alex, thanks for being back with us. It's great to have you.
Great to be here. Thank you, Alison.
Of course. So, Alex, I actually just received your book in the mail on this exact subject entitled Deep State, the Invisible Government Behind the Scenes, which I'm really looking forward to reading and highly suggest everyone go check it out. However, I went onto your website, Liberty Sentinel, and it just so happens you actually recently wrote an article on the deep state, which I found very intriguing. Alex, the article you wrote about highlights what we've been talking about previously on the program for so long, and that is the fact that this left-right paradigm is nothing more than a tool used by the deep state behind the deep state and what I like to refer to as the Luciferian global elites. Alex, can you please explain to us how this construct helps the true power brokers accomplish their agenda, and explain for us what exactly that agenda is?
Well, thank you, Alison. And I'm so glad you brought up this example. It's a perfect encapsulation of what we're dealing with. People that we're told are conservative leaders, are conservative journalists, are actually, when they think nobody's paying attention, hobnobbing with the leftist leaders who are supposed to be our enemies. And this is a really perfect example of that. In fact, Fox News, by and large, every once in a while they invite me on and things, but by and large, they're controlled opposition. And what you see is the leftists, Hillary Clinton's family, for example, Bill Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, they are members of an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations. Well, so are a lot of the Murdochs, right? Including the Murdoch sons who now run Fox News. So are a lot of the so-called journalists at Fox News. In fact, News Corporation, which owns Fox News for a long time, was a corporate member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And a lot of their leading so-called journalists and opinion people are also members. And so you have top Republicans, people like Dick Cheney, top Democrats, all joining together in these groups. And there are many of them. I break down quite a few of them in my book. The CFR is one that's kind of above ground. They publish a membership list and things like that. But then there are others, like the Bohemian Club out in California, where Kevin McCarthy just got spotted. There's the Skull and Bones Club over at Yale University, where the Bushes and the Kerrys like to congregate. So we have, I think what's happening here is an effort to control the narrative, divide Americans. They have a fake puppet right and a fake puppet left that are ultimately all leading us toward this one world agenda that for decades they've been in public calling the New World Order. Lately, they've started calling it the Great Reset. It's all the same thing. You give up your freedom, you give up your money, you give up your country, and they will take care of us.
Absolutely, no question about that. It's just fascinating to see them not even trying to hide it anymore, just out blatantly, openly publicizing it all. It's really interesting. Alex, in your article, you mentioned there's a multitude of groups all working together to accomplish the global elite's vision. And I found it interesting. You noted back in 1979, U.S. Senator Barry Goldwater explained in his memoir with no apologies that the Trilateral Commission truly intends to create a worldwide economic power that is superior to the political governments of the nation states that are involved. And I just really thought that was so powerful. We really need some senators and members of Congress to be calling out the globalist elites, as Senator Goldwater did over 40 years ago. So why do you think it is, Alex, that so many in positions of power today are so reluctant to address this?
There's a few different things at work, Alison, and we have had over the years some good people, right? Congressman Larry McDonald was an extraordinary man. Of course, the Soviets shot down his airplane, but he actually filed a bill to investigate that organization that I just mentioned, the Council on Foreign Relations. He was speaking out about many of these groups. Of course, Barry Goldwater very succinctly and very nicely exposed the Trilateral Commission in his book. As you mentioned, he talked about how they're bringing together religious, ecclesiastical leaders, business leaders, and political leaders all in this effort to build this one world order. In fact, the Trilateral Commission, founded by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski, they call it the New International Economic Order, is their vision. And as you try to read their publications, wrap your head around what they're saying in public, you realize this is a global, technocratic, communist China-style dictatorship. It is really the only way to put it. There's no more, elections and political battles. These are scientists, engineers, experts in service to the elites will make all your decisions for you. And the reason so many politicians are scared to talk about it, well, for one, they're scared of being attacked by the media. They're worried that the media is going to call them a bad name or call them some kind of term that has gotten associated with a bad smell, which is what they specialize in. Then there's also the blackmail. They know a lot of these people, once they get up to very high positions of authority, there's dirt on them, right? Maybe they have pictures of them cheating on their wives or worse, right? Something even worse. They say, you wouldn't want that on the front page of your local newspaper, right? So just vote the way we tell you, and please don't mention our little meetings, right? So that's the kind of thing we're dealing with. And then a lot of them, they're just power-hungry, money-hungry prostitutes. They're willing to sell their soul for money and for power. And they know that if you upset the apple cart by exposing these groups, well, bad things will happen to your agenda for money and power.
Yeah, you're spot on. I totally agree. And it's just so sad. I hope we can get some more strong leaders that are unafraid to stand up to this and really fight for we the people, because I don't know how much longer we can sustain this insanity. But speaking of those in positions of power, Alex, you just alluded to it a few moments ago. You highlighted it in your article, but it's really quite disturbing. You stated that just this summer, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was spotted at Bohemian Grove. Explain for those who don't know what Bohemian Grove is and how on earth this is not front page news. I mean, I only know what Bohemian Grove is because I saw Alex Jones document when he snuck in and exposed this whole satanic event, and then he also went on to confront former presidential advisor David Gergen on the streets of DC and question him about it, and Gergen just totally, refused to acknowledge any of it. But Alex, how would you explain this to the public, and what does all of this how does it all tie together, and what does it really mean?
Sure. So Bohemian Grove is one of the most I think occult and weird of these secret societies that make up what I call the deep state behind the deep state. It's about 2,500 men. It's all men, by the way, and I don't think women pretending to be men or identifying as men are welcome. And so they get together in the redwood forest of Northern California. They got this big 40-foot stone owl that, of course, Alex Jones infamously snuck in and took camera footage of their ritual. They call it the cremation of care. And, most of the people that go to this thing, Alison, they're not necessarily like Satan-worshiping lunatics. They're going there because they think that, I'll get business connections, I'll expand my network, maybe I'll close some big business deals. But the people at the top of this are absolutely involved in the occult. They absolutely understand the wickedness of this, the depravity of this. And so this ceremony, cremation of care, just to give people some perspective on what's going on there, they put what they claim is an effigy of a child at the foot of this 40-foot stone owl, and they set it on fire. And you hear these horrifying screams. And again, Alex Jones documented all this on video and then confronted David Gergen on the streets of Washington, D.C. about it. So this is a real thing. The former president of the United States, Richard Nixon, he wrote in his autobiography that the most important speech of his entire political career was the one he gave at the Bohemian Grove. Now, in the tapes that came out later, he calls it things that I can't repeat on this program. He's a blankety blank homosexual group. So they do really weird things. They get really drunk. They run around. They prance around in the woods. They're proud of being able to pee on the trees in freedom. But the fact that Kevin McCarthy was there was very troubling. In fact, every Republican president of the last 100 years has attended, with the exception of Donald Trump. And we got some leaked emails from Colin Powell. This was a few years ago in the run-up to the 2016 election, where Colin Powell was exchanging an email with his buddy in Canada, Peter Gordon McKay. He was the defense minister, justice minister at different times under Stephen Harper. And he says, I got to sit next to Stephen Harper at the latest Bohemian Grove, and we all agree Trump is a disaster. So I thought that was a good endorsement of the former president, whatever else you may think of him. But it really is a very bizarre group. And I think Americans need to realize that what they're showing you on the TV is very different than what's happening behind the scenes at weird groups like the Bohemian Grove, like the Skull and Bones, and these other societies. They need to be exposed. They need to be talked about.
They most certainly do. And that is why we're so grateful for you doing just that, Alex. And that's why it's so important to draw near to Jesus and be this shining light in this very dark world we're living in. Alex, we're all out of time for today, but thank you so much for joining us and weighing in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alison. God bless you.
God bless you.
We'd like to welcome you to our new home for uncensored news and hard-hitting talk shows. If you're tired of cable companies and social media giants chipping away at your most basic and important right, freedom of speech, by shadow banning, demonetizing, censoring, and policing every single one of your posts, then One America News on Locals is just what you've been looking for. Finally, you'll have the freedom to express your point of view and stay connected with like-minded fellow patriots. And the best part is, OAN on locals is only $5 a month. All of our credible, honest, unbiased reporting, ad-free talk shows, and exclusive content, all at the fraction of the cost of cable. So to watch, just click the join button to get the news you can't get anywhere else.